All right. Good morning, everybody. I would like to welcome you to the Our Wellbeing Wellness at Work Wellbeing webinar. My name is Lisa Sheppard. I am the founder and CEO of Our Wellbeing. And today we have another great webinar that we have put together for our people who are joining us. And we're going to get right into the well-being topic. But first, I would like to start off with just telling you a little bit about Our Wellbeing. Our Wellbeing is a recently formed organization that focuses on the well-being um, of people, individuals. And I'm going to share with you a slide PowerPoint as well that you can follow along with. As we're talking about this. Let me share my screen here. Okay. If my fellow panelists can tell me that you can see the screen, is it showing? Great.
Yes.
So Our Wellbeing, again, is a wellness and well-being event planning organization located in Williamsburg, Virginia. We focus on bringing events, seminars, conferences, wellness retreats to the workforce or to the school setting as a primary focus, but also for individuals who are seeking to heal and to gain their own footing in the well-being and wellness as it pertains to them. Our well-being was started in June of 2023. And the story behind that is amazing, and I will get into that in just a little bit. But before we start, I would like to share with you some webinar notes for our webinar, and so that we can have a great webinar. Attendees' audio will be muted and cameras turned off for the duration of the webinar. Please use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen for questions at the end of the session if time permits. We have a lot of information that we are packing into this session. A recorded video will be sent to all registered attendees. So if you miss something, you have to give it up, go away for something, we will get that link out to you. Also, information about Our Wellbeing LLC and the Strategic Partners Network that we have is located on our website at ourwellbeing.net and in the chat box. We'll put that in the chat box as well. Today's agenda, we're doing our overview and welcome. We're also going to have a conversation with a recent author, Kaleem Overton Ameen, about her new book, Hidden in Plain Sight. And then Kaleem is going to join us also for our panel discussion after I have a conversation with her. We're going to have a panel discussion with 3 experts in the field. We have emotional well-being with Tiffany James, who's the owner and LPC with Benay's Creative Counseling in Richmond. We have spiritual and emotional well-being with Richara Shepperson-Turner. She's the owner and founder of Healing 180 LLC. And we also have a spiritual and emotional well-being with Erica Riley, who is the owner and founder of A New Creation. Again, if we have time at the end, we will have Q&As. We'll do closing remarks, and we also have a raffle giveaway that we will talk about, sponsored by Benay's Creative Counseling. And then we'll talk a little bit about upcoming events, because if you are in the Richmond or Hampton Roads or close by where you can drive, we are having our first wellness retreat in Williamsburg, Virginia on Saturday, December 9th. And then after that, we will end our webinar. So I would like to start off with, what is Our Wellbeing LLC? As I mentioned, Our Wellbeing LLC was started back in June of this year. And it was really birthed out of, I would say, trauma. And it was my trauma. I went into therapy a little over a year ago. I just celebrated my 1-year anniversary in therapy. And from that, I learned so much about myself, about how I operate, why I did things, that I thought, why can't I share this with others? Others may need this. So event planning is a part of my background. I have a 30+ year career in human resources. I'm a benefits manager by career and profession. I actually put on events with former companies and current companies, albeit that I'm with, will put on events. But I said, I need to do this for myself, not only to help others, but also as a therapeutic activity for me, to be able to continue to give back and see and hope that other people can have the same type of progress and healing that I have had over the last year. Healing is something that's different to everybody, but once you start that process, it's an up and down. It's up and down. You never know what's going to come out. You may go in for one reason, but you learn so much more about yourself. So having a positive well-being, and there is positive and negative well-being, but trying to achieve that positive well-being is just something so critical, especially in the times of today. In years past, in spirit, especially if you're in my generation, that Gen X, on the Gen X curve, and at the end of the baby boomers, our parents didn't talk about things. Things were hidden. So a lot of that trauma that they experienced, we experienced by default also, because nobody talked about it. So now today, our younger generations, they're talking about it. More of us are talking about it. We're starting to heal, and it's not pretty, but it's necessary. So I think I've gone through a lot of this, but let me just tell you a little bit more. Our mission with Our Wellbeing LLC is to educate and empower small and medium-sized businesses, schools, employees and students, K through 12 and higher ed, HR professionals, and individuals who are looking for new and unique ways to provide healing resources for work life, school life, and personal life balance. So we are here for you. We will be doing a series of free webinars. This is the last one for 2023, and we have some great topics coming in 2024. You can go to, again, our website, www.ourwellbeing.net, to stay abreast of our webinars and other events that we have out there. One of the things we do this for also is to help workplace and school settings for higher retention. When you have that positive well-being, and we were just discussing this before we came on, you're going to get a higher retention. You're going to keep employees in place. You're going to keep students in school. It's just going to be a positive domino effect. Better productivity and learning space for workplace and schools. And if you're a business, it's going to result in increased profits and sales. There have been a lot of studies out there that show this. I don't have to go into that, but if you have a positive foundation in your workplace or school setting, you're going to see positive things happen. But it all starts with a healthy well-being culture and mindset. How do we deliver our services at Our Wellbeing? We have an experienced team of strategic well-being professional partners who specialize in the areas of emotional, physical, financial, and spiritual well-being. Each partner brings to us proven techniques, tools, and resources that will make a positive impact on your organization, school, or workplace, to your wellness culture and to your individual personal life, which a lot of this has to start there. You can only give what you have. So if you don't have a positive well-being, you may not give that or recognize that you don't have that in your setting. So a lot of this is individual work as well. Some of the services we offer, again, are on-site workplace, school, or community well-being seminars, workplace, school, or community webinars, weekend wellness retreats, again, of which we're having, and you can go to eventbrite.com and register for our weekend wellness retreat next week. We have team building week well-being retreats also. And what makes us unique is we have a partnership with another organization in Williamsburg called Mobita LLC that focuses on reconnecting particularly African Americans to the African continent And we have been invited to also do wellness retreats as part of their Africa a Homecoming Experience tour, of which the next one will be in April of 2020. So if you've been looking to head to the motherland and looking to heal, just reach out to us and we can get you more information on that. And the great thing about it is Mobita LLC is planning a private charter out of Richmond, Virginia, straight into our destination, which is the Gambia, West Africa. So it's a first on many fronts. First for the wellness retreat in Africa, first for Mobita LLC chartering a flight specifically for an Africa destination. They have been taking people on homecoming orientation tours since 2011. So if you need to learn more about that, just reach out to us at ourwellbeing.net and we can get you connected. So before we start with Kaleema, I just want to leave this with you. Our motto and mission is to educate and empower, but my quote to you is, your well-being is our priority. We're here to help you with whatever you may need as far as wellness and well-being, and we will make you our priority. So with that, I just want to introduce a little bit about our team that we have, and we've added more people to the team, and they will be on our website, updated on our website. Again, we have Tiffany James of Benay's Creative Counseling. We have Richara Shepperson-Turner of Healing 180, Erica Riley of A New Creation. Not joining us today, but a part of our team is Terry Holbert of Innovative Wellness Services and Derry Hayward of PFG Benefits and Financial Services. We have also added Kaleem Overton Ameen as part of our team, and she will be updated on our website as well. So now let's move into our conversation with Kaleem. Again, Kaleem is a mental health advocate and author of the new book, Hidden in Plain Sight. Just like to read a little bit about her bio and background before we get started with her. Kaleem is a federal policy analyst specializing in healthcare policy and disaster relief programs. She has managed programs for the Centers of Disease Control, Bioterrorism, and International AIDS Relief, the U.S. Department of Commerce Manufacturing Programs, and the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Pediatric Mental Health, just to name a few. After 23 years, she retired from the federal government and is now working as a consultant to the National Science Foundation, overseeing research compliance. Kaleem has just written her first book, Hidden in Plain Sight, which was released, and I had the chance to go to her book launch earlier this month, and you got to get that. We'll talk a little bit more about it. This book was written in real time and became an organic step to healing from the psychological trauma of abandonment. Her book includes a series of interviews with women from diverse racial, socioeconomic, and religious backgrounds. Kaleem's own journey included lodging a public complaint that resulted in an invitation to write a 7-series newspaper column. Kaleem's book exposes the grooming process that leads to psychological, economical, and spiritual abuse. She has a passion for volunteerism and co-hosts an interfaith radio show that promotes community involvement. And with that, I would like to introduce to you Kaleem Ameen. Welcome, Kaleem. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well today. Thank you again for joining us. As you know, you were on our first webinar on November 7th. It was a great webinar. I think it energized everybody that was on. During that time, we had a lot of international participants that came on. I believe most of our participants, if not all, are stateside this time. So we're trying to get the word out. But if there's anybody internationally out here, we love to travel. The Strategic Network loves to travel, so we will be there. So let me just get started with the first question. And let me first let you talk a little bit about yourself, and then we can get started with the questions.
Okay. Well, I don't have a whole lot to add to what you just said, but just as you were doing the intro, my book came about the same way, this LLC came about. It was, birthed from my trauma. And because I'm a policy analyst, I want to research, I want to dig, I want to know why, things happen.
Here we go.
This occurred, I was in therapy and I started researching abandonment, and the grooming process and how do people come to be in these, particular situations. And as you mentioned, when I did the articles, I was researching abandonment in the Muslim community just for my own, healing. But then I started getting emails and text messages and inboxes to my Facebook from women from other religious communities asking, well, why didn't you talk about us? Because it happens to us too, and at the time I was still in therapy, I was writing the book while I was in therapy. And so I ended up pivoting, the articles. I ended up pivoting with the book to include women who were, Muslim, Christian, and Catholic, Black, white, and Hispanic, from different backgrounds. And so that's how I came to write Hidden in Plain Sight. And the title is because, there's so many forms of abuse that people don't see. If there is no black eye or broken bone or busted lip, people easily turn away. They turn they turn away from the abuse, or they deny that it's there because they don't see the evidence of it. And
Right.
so, that is how I came to the title Hidden in Plain Sight, because it's right there if we pay attention and we really ask people, how are you? And wait and listen and hear, the response.
So that leads me to ask you, how does a person who is mentally, physically, or spiritually or financially abused at home show up at work?
Exactly. These people that commit the abuse, they have jobs too. And those who are being abused, everyone is showing up in the workplace. And you might often find that they are very agitated. They may have problems being on time for work, being focused for work, or they may be very withdrawn at work. And some people show up, the abusers can show up and abuse people on the job. They're very, demeaning, and they diminish people and they disrespect people at work. And you often run into these types of people and wonder, like, why did they show up this morning like this? We just got here, nothing happened, and this person is angry first thing in the morning. And it could be anger from being abused as well. So you never really know until you talk to someone where this emotion is coming from. And it could be that they're the abuser, or it could very likely be they're being abused at home. And so they're taking this thing out on people at work, or they're very withdrawn at work or unable to work. During this time when I was going through all of this trauma, I was literally unable to work, and I was in a place where I had retired from federal government, but I was working as a consultant with a different agency, and they were not open at all to me being able to take this break. But I asked about the break because my dad was in hospice and I was caring for him in my home. So I had all of these things happening at one time. But the employer was not, kind about my needing to take this time. And I had to push because I'm a policy analyst. I know your policies and I know the state and federal policies. I know your company policies, and I had to push. And so you only have the rights that you know about. So even if someone is experiencing some type of, abuse at work, you really must be an advocate for yourself, read the policies, read the handbooks, find out the state and federal laws around, being able to seek this type of assistance, whether it's mental, physical, spiritual assistance. And then also, oftentimes they have financial assistance for people who are in need at work. So you really have to be an advocate for your own health and for your own well-being on the job.
That's exactly true. What are some of the red flags that we should be aware of at home or at work if you're being groomed, like you said in your book, and your book focuses on grooming? What are some of those red flags that anybody can be aware of to see if somebody is experiencing this type of abuse?
Yes, and my book primarily focuses on the abuse within relationships, marriage relationships, or courting and dating. But some of those red flags will show up, and people do get groomed at work at work as well. Some of those red flags include someone who's kind of drawing you in with always just kind of doing too much, being too amenable, being very agreeable about everything, and putting you up on a pedestal. Oftentimes people feel like, oh, I'm up on a pedestal, so this is a great place to be. But when it comes to grooming, and when it comes to like narcissistic behaviors, which all bad behaviors does not a narcissist make, but they may have some of those traits and behaviors. When it comes to that, that's the first thing they do. They put you up on a pedestal because, you know, the shoe is going to drop and they're going to drag you down, you know, hard and fast. And so someone constantly putting you in a position also of being indebted to them, bringing you gifts, doing things for you that you didn't request, you know, and now you're indebted to them. This is another grooming tactic because they'll come back around and say, hey, you know, remember I did this, remember I brought you that, remember I gave you this favor, you know, these types of things. So those are just some of the things that I talk about in the book, but I talk about more in depth how the person who's grooming you is also grooming the people around you, your family, your friends, your coworkers, you know, your neighbor, your mailman. So when you report the abuse, oftentimes the people around you won't experience that person that way, and they have been groomed. And so the abuse will just fall on deaf ears. And so sometimes you have to go outside of your circles to seek help because they've compromised all of your safe space. And now you're reporting the abuse, but no one believes you. So the groomer is very, it's a very diabolical process. All of the women I interviewed after we started, the interviews lasted over a series of months with each woman. And they all, including myself, after really digging, realized this individual actually was in my circles and kind of stalked everyone. I call it stalking because they're in your circles and they're gathering information before they even approach you. And so they have all of this information about you, and the grooming process starts even before you have that first conversation.
Wow. That's interesting because, you know, you have nice people and we don't want people not to be nice to each other, but then to hear that people are stalking you and grooming you, I guess at some point it could be a fine line, perhaps, and you don't know about it. And then, you know, we can talk about this if we need to with our therapist also. But the one last thing I'd like to ask you, what are some of the steps to recovering from this kind of grooming and abuse that you found in your research or you found with the people that you interviewed? What kind of steps did they take to recover?
Yes. Well, of course, you know, when you're experiencing this type of abuse, it can be mental, physical, spiritual, and financial. And oftentimes we don't get full healing. And so we end up getting back into the same situation again because it seems familiar, and we equate the familiar feeling with it being safe. And so we really have to make sure if we experience mental, physical, spiritual, and financial abuse, that the healing covers your mental, physical, spiritual, and financial to have full healing so you can make better choices. We always want to make better choices, but if we haven't been fully healed, it prevents us from being able to take the step to actually go from wanting to make a better choice to actually making a better choice. And so once you experience this type of abuse, you need to make sure you seek counseling immediately. When my son and I were abandoned on a family vacation, we were in counseling before we even got home. And
Wow.
I'm an advocate for counseling even before this. And so you want to make sure you seek counseling immediately. And also because your therapist or counselor is not really responsible for, you know, your financial healing. And so they can give you some guidance about how to get everything in order. But you do want to seek out someone who works in that area as well, because oftentimes when women are abandoned, you know, they lose their jobs, they lose their homes and cars, and they lose their health care. So you really need to seek out someone who can help you through this financial turmoil that you're going to experience as a result of this type of abuse. And so, as I said, you know, if the abuse is mental, physical, spiritual, and financial, you know, it's like if you get hit by a car, you know, they take you to the hospital, they repair your leg and put you in a cast and put you back out on the street, but you have dealt with the trauma of being hit by the car in the first place. And so you just keep walking into the street and getting hit by cars over and over again because you haven't received full healing enough to really want and make a better decision.
Well, Kaleem, I'd like to thank you for joining us again today for our conversation with you regarding your new book, Hidden in Plain Sight. Can you tell everybody how they can actually purchase your book or reach out to you? I know you dropped it into the chat, but if you could just give that to them again.
Yes, my book is available at online at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Google Play, and iTunes. It's also available on Kindle. and my contact information, my email address, and everything is there. My website is being put together by the publisher, but right now you can reach out to me on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn under the same name, Kaleem Overton Ameen, and just reach out to me if you have any questions or want to get copies of the book.
Okay.
And I'm also doing book signings. So yes.
Well, thank you so much. We're going to ask each of our panelists also to redrop your contact information in the chat so everybody can see it. We didn't have the settings for everybody at first, so a lot of us have dropped that information in for only host and panelists to see. So if you want to do that, you can go ahead. But again, thank you so much, Kaleem, for joining us today and staying with us for this panel discussion. So now you're welcome. Now we're going to move into our panel discussion with our strategic partners of the network. And I just want to, I see you, Richara. I just want to make sure you were there. I didn't have you at first. And our topic today is going to be, what does it really mean to be well? We have so many definitions of well or wellness that we're going to get into the meat of that today, along with some other things. But first, I'd just like to just do a little round robin of introductions of our therapists that we have. And first, I'm going to start with Tiffany James. Tiffany is the founder and owner of Benay's Creative Services in Virginia. And Tiffany has been in the counseling field since 1990. She holds a master's degree in mental health counseling and is licensed by the National Board of Certified Counselors and the Commonwealth of Virginia Board of Counseling. She also specializes in individual, couple, family, and group therapy to develop the empowerment of one's own life. And her approach to therapy is through the use of cognitive behavioral therapy and reality therapy. We also have Richara Shepperson-Turner, who is the founder and owner of Healing 180. Richara is a licensed clinical social worker, and she uses therapeutic holistic approach to assist individuals with alignment and progression towards their highest potential. And Healing 180 LLC is a mental health, emotional, and spiritual well-being organization that's also located in Richmond, Virginia, and dedicated to unveiling deep-rooted issues that prevent individuals from functioning at their most authentic self. And finally, we have Erica Riley. And Erica is a master's of social work, and she's also in the process of getting her licensure, to be a licensed professional counselor. And Erica has a bachelor's degree in psychology, associate's degree in psychology, and a bachelor's degree in social work from Virginia State University. And she has over 20 years experience in providing support in a group home setting for adult individuals who are experiencing intellectual and developmental disabilities. She also works with adults, adolescents, youth, and teens to navigate within the foster care system and group home setting. Erica's background basis of therapy is cognitive behavioral therapy also, which focuses on exploring unhealthy thoughts, feelings, and actions. But Erica brings to us also an additional practice or expertise, which is our sound bowl healing, spiritual health with aquatics, beginning shadow works, and she also works with healing with herbs and oils. So with that, I think I just want to start off and get right into these questions. And I think I'll throw it to you, Erica, since you were the last one I introduced. What does well-being mean to you? A lot of us hear the term well-being, wellness, mental health, emotional health, but what does well-being mean to you?
So well-being defined is a person's physical, mental, emotional, social, and health factors. And so I was listening to the panel this morning speaking about their experience and how they came to this place and how we got together. and things that occur in the community and in the workplace. And so it aligns right here with well-being. And these are some of the ways that you can cope with some of those traumas and some of that abuse that is experienced in the workplace. And so for me, it is a feeling and how you feel about yourself, a response and a reaction. And so we spoke earlier about being on the job and some of the things that you have to go through. And when you're triggered, you may not be able to communicate that well with others. And it shows up in other ways. It could be verbal or nonverbal. And sometimes when that is not taken care of and our body is not aligned, it is a response that is displayed in other ways. And as we discussed earlier, it may be, showing at the job and not being your authentic self, not being able to manage your emotions, and it comes out in other ways. And so to me, with well-being, it is your physical, your mental, your emotional, and health factors that are unbalanced that create some of those negative responses. And can you turn that around to be a positive interaction and a positive response? Sure, you can do that with some of the things that we've just discussed, which may be learning coping skills, which may be some of that holistic care that you just provided in the introductions, and seeing a therapist and processing through those things so you are able to manage and balance your day better, where you are able to function on your job, function in your community, and function in your home. So to me, well-being has different components. And if you are unbalanced in one area, it may cause impairments in others.
Thank you. Richara, would you like to expand on what your meaning of well-being is?
Definitely. I first just want to give an illustration of when I recognized that I had aligned with my truest or my best self. I was in a yoga class probably in 2017, and I had been going to yoga for a while. And I always, heard about the chakra and, how everything needs to be aligned. And I experienced this total vision of every chakra just lighting up. It was every color that the chakra bring, it was just a vision of that as I came out of yoga. And I was like, oh my gosh, I felt at peace with whatever was going on with me. It didn't matter. And so I say that well-being can be described as identifying and functioning as your highest self, which eventually brings inner peace, clarity, and overall stability in every area of your life. So I'm not talking about perfection, but I'm actually talking about just being okay with where you are in the moment. That is well-being. That is well-being. Thank you.
Wow, that's deep. That's deep. And Tiffany, what would your definition of well-being be?
The whole, your entire being is well-being. We concentrate a lot on our physical, but well-being starts in your mind. Well-being starts in how you look at life, how you look at the world, because once you start to take those stressors on, that's when you break down your immune system, and that's when your body's attacked. So then when your body's attacked, you automatically go seek help for that. But it first starts in your mind. So if you're not taking care of your mind, which then takes care of your spirit, which then takes care of your physical, and being in tune with everything that you need, you can't be well. So you have to start with your process of thinking positive, thinking self-care, thinking about what you put in your body, think about your activities, and definitely think about the emotional and spiritual realm of what you're taking in verbally and in your physical surroundings, because that definitely contributes to breaking down your thought process to be negative, because that's always our first go-to is the negative. So you have to create positivity in everything you do. So I believe that being well starts in your mind, and having the mindset to say, I'm going to be well throughout my mental, my emotion, my spiritual, my physical. So for me, that's what well-being is.
Perfect. One of our strategic partners, Terry Holbert, has a saying and has a whole seminar on well-being. And he says, sick people don't make money. So if you're sick physically, if you're sick mentally, it's going to affect you financially and of course emotionally. So you're right. It's a wholeness, a holistic approach. Kaleema, we talk about the workplace, and we know in the workplace we have a lot of different generations in that workplace. Can you describe, in your opinion, the effect of generational differences and how that plays into the workplace?
Yes, I think that when it comes to the workplace, we need to really be able to, if you're in the position of being a supervisor, to be able to make sure that you value every employee and meet them where they are and make sure that they understand their value, to the overall mission. Oftentimes, younger people are dismissed in the workplace. And they are, all of us were the young people coming in at one time. And I'm talking about people who are 40 and under. That's what I consider younger people coming into the workplace. And we have to be able to provide that support and guidance for them, but also to make sure that they understand their value. They have a whole skill set and life experience that we don't have, and that we're not going to even have to develop, because the things that they go through now, as we were talking before we came on, all of the turmoil and the stress that they have in college, in the college life, we didn't have that. We had some, but not like they have now. We didn't have to contend even in high school. My son tells me about, the schools are, my son made a comment to me. He said, school is no place for a kid. He's in high school. We didn't have the type of bullying they have now. We didn't have access to drugs like they do now, and they bring it into the school and school shootings. And so we really have to, when these people are coming, younger people are coming into the workplace, we have to take those things into account and provide them that guidance. They're not getting, the training that we got, even just that basic home training, I would say, coming into the workplace, how to dress, how to conduct themselves in the interview, how to deal with conflict in the workplace. So we really have to hold their hand and guide them, but we have to let them know that they're valuable and they have a skill set that we don't have when it comes to, electronics and I don't know, those types of technical things as skill sets that maybe we don't have, and we can lean on them so everyone can feel valued in the workplace.
Right. If anybody want to add on to that?
I guess we talked about this during our last panel discussion, and just kind of piggybacking off of what Kaleema talked about as far as what they do bring to the table is a level of certainty and advocacy and expectation of what it is that they want or what they're willing to do. And so I think, our generation, the seasoned generation, we have really kind of like been molded, and we're accustomed to doing things the way we feel it's supposed to be done. And so I think that the blending of the younger generation coming in and recognizing that they can speak up for themselves and they do have a voice, and then us, having this solid way of doing things, if we were to bring that together, it makes the workplace even more functional, even more cohesive. There's a different level of understanding and growth in that environment because everybody's accepted, So I think the blending of the new generation and our seasoned adults, it really does work, because you don't want it to be lopsided. You don't want the workplace to just be with the seasoned adults that have the older way of doing things. You really want to be innovative and be able to cultivate, different space for everyone. So I think that's what is so important about making sure that everyone is heard and feels accepted in the workspace.
Yeah, it's a culture shift. And a lot of times it's a hard lift for people who've been doing things a certain way for a long time. And you can get a lot of backlash with that, but it really is change management on the part of the leaders in the organization, and it's a culture shift. And with that, Tiffany, how can employers or educators in a school setting help to destigmatize mental or emotional well-being in the workplace? How can they encourage employees to reach out? Because it's in their best interest if they do that. But some people may not even know it's in their best interest. So what tips would you give about that? Or what would you express?
I want to piggyback a little bit on what Charles said, because that goes into what you just asked me. I have found, having adult children, especially my oldest daughter, that her well-being is important. And she's constantly saying, I'm not going to be stressed at work. And I find that a lot of other young people will leave a job if they feel like they're not appreciated. They will leave a job if they feel like it's not a good fit for them. And sometimes we look at them as jumpers. Oh, they don't take the job seriously, or they're just immature. And it's not that they're immature, it's that they have options where we, as in our generation, our seasoned generations, didn't have as many options when we were coming into the workplace. And we also follow behind our parents and our grandparents. They went to a job and stayed until they retired. These young people know they have the option to be happy, one, because
Yes.
I believe they feel like their happiness is first and
Yes.
foremost. And then they have the option to go anywhere else with the skills that they have learned, and they will take that. So that's one thing definitely with the different generations, and we can learn from them. And she's constantly in my ear about, you don't have to take this and you don't have to do that. So I can learn from that as well. I also had a young lady from my previous job that said the same thing to me. You just stay. Whether you're happy or not, you just stay at a job until you retire. I'm not going to do that. Once I get what I can get, and this is no longer benefiting me, it's time for me to move on. And I had to process that thing, because that really kind of bothered me at first. And then I said, you know what, they may have something.
Yeah.
They have this well-being thing before we have this well-being thing. So we're correcting things that has been going on in our life for so long, and they're protecting that from not happening to them, and maybe from just watching us and seeing the things that has happened to us as their parents, their aunts, their grandparents, and say, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to work and die. So that's one piece to just piggyback on what Richara said. How we can work in the workplace, in the school place, in the settings to bring mental health to the forefront and taking care of our mental health is, one, educating, but also advocating, teaching everyone the importance of mental health and your well-being, and allowing them to even speak up on their behalf when they go to a job and say, so what are your benefits? Oh, we have sick time. We have vacation time. And asking that question, well, do you have mental health time off? And a lot of employees, I'm at a new place. I asked them just yesterday, not even thinking about this. And they said, well, what is that? We have vacation time. We have sick time. I said, well, we need to work on that. Mental health is an illness, but it's not something that you should have to take off if you have the flu, or if you have a virus. Mental health is, I am stressed out. I need some time today just to recoup. I need a day off today just to do nothing, or to read a book, or to take a drive. I just need a day to just recoup, get myself back aligned. As Richard said, I need my alignment fixed. So it's okay to take that time off. Teaching small businesses and corporations the importance of mental health, as I said earlier, starting in the mind, your mindset, the thought process, keeping that positive mind, allowing them to know, if you have an employee that is happy, that is aligned, that is mentally fit for that day, your productivity is going to be much higher than them being stressed and having anxiety and then getting sick and then not being able to work for weeks at a time. Right. So it's important to start there with the education, advocating for what you need at a job, and teaching these owners, teaching these companies and these businesses the importance of maintaining your employees' mental health. They bring in people to speak. They'll do all these other little things that they think will help. But what about one day off a month? Yeah. What about if you need a day off just for yourself? that is so important. And that makes people feel like you care about them. And then they can care about themselves and not be as stressed.
Without
So
explanation.
education,
Yeah.
advocacy.
Yeah,
Yes, without, because
explanation.
you don't have to explain why you're out for sick all the time. You know, I have a doctor's note that I was out because I was sick. You know, you
Right.
don't have to come in and say, well, I woke up and I was thinking about my grandmother who died last year, and I just could not get myself together.
Right.
That's none of your employers, you know, that's not their business to know why you need a mental health day. You just need a mental health day.
Right. Boundaries. And what I'm hearing is these young people in the younger generations, they set boundaries. And I know within my own
Yes.
family, my children who are 23 and 27, that they'll always tell you this is within my boundaries. And I've learned from them to set these boundaries, not only at home, because it's hard as a parent, it's hard to set those boundaries. And then when you do set those boundaries, then they push back because they're not used to you setting those boundaries, but at work too. Go in and advocate for yourself, like you said, and set those boundaries and know what your will and will not tolerate within the confines of your work setting. And don't stay if it doesn't fit. That's the worst thing you can do. I mean, all money is not good money, as they say.
Yes.
So you need to know when it's your season is up and it's time for you to go. Not everybody can do that financially, but you should have that mindset in saying that I come first, my well-being comes first. Because if you're not good at your job because of things that are happening in your well-being, number one, you probably get fired. Number two, you're not going to be productive. So why not have that control in your own court instead of turning it over to your employer?
And Lisa, example of that, I'm glad you said that. You have people who are pushovers. You have people who people take advantage of. And then you have people who you know not to mess with that person. Like you
Right.
can't go to that person and say a certain thing to that person because they're just not going to allow you. They're setting that boundary. And sometimes we say, oh, that person is mean. Oh, that person, you know, you can't talk to them. But they have already set the tone
Yes.
of what you can bring to them and what you can't.
Right.
And that person is going to be around a lot longer than the person who's just giving in and doing everything somebody is pushing them over to do.
Oh yeah, and on my new job that I had, there was this one person that nobody wanted to deal with because he was just overbearing. But when I came in, I just set the tone. It wasn't anything that I did. I just set the tone. So I feel like he treats me different than he does other people. So you have to take that control with people. Let them know where you stand up front. And even if you haven't done it, start to do it, because people will respond to how you treat them, how they are treating you if you respond differently. So good discussion.
I wanted to make a comment about you know, how the younger generations, they just kind of say, I'm not taking this and I'm moving on. But I do try to advise them, you know, you can look while you're moving on and staying in that position and kind of stick to it, because you want to see things to, you know, a logical end, and not just not show up one day unless it's extreme. And
Right.
sometimes, and that is happening a lot. People say, oh, they just don't come back. You don't want to have a reputation for doing that if you can stick it through. I did get to one federal agency, and the moment I got there, I started looking for another job. But I didn't just turn around and leave. And
Right.
I left them in a good place, really in a better place than I found them. But I found a new place for myself.
Right.
Process.
Right.
So we don't want to, you know, we want to kind of make sure we counsel them to say, you know, if it's possible, if you're just not happy here, you know, stick it out, but look for something, because you want to protect your own financial well-being. You don't want to be between jobs. You know, the hardest time to find a job is when you don't have one, you know, and they want to know like why, you know. So you want to, you know, kind of monkey branch if you need to, and not let go of that position until you find something that's going to be better for you. And that's even protecting yourself financially, because that financial stress is going to lead to mental stress, physical stress, and it's
Right.
going to be a domino effect.
And that's
Kaleem, that was really good. Oh, I'm sorry, Lisa. That was really good too, because in the process of staying and looking for something else, you're still learning. You're
Yeah.
learning how to cope. You're learning how to be a team player when you don't want to be a team player. You're learning. That's an experience too. So that's good. That was good.
And also what it also does is it allows us, those who have been in the workplace longer, to be mentors to those coming in, because they need a mentor. Some of us didn't have mentors to be able to guide us, so we had to learn on our own. You know, I got mine, you need to get yours type of mentality. But it shouldn't be. We should be there to support each other. That's what the importance of employee resource groups are with employers. Just from an HR background, that gives you that safe space where you can go and ask, you know, other people who may have gone through the same thing that you've done. And some people may not even know that's a part of your mental well-being and healing process, those resource groups or those mentors being there, the mentor-mentee relationship. But definitely everything that everybody said here is something that we all need to take a look at. I want to move on to ask the question, and we're on this topic already about generational. Some of the generation that we tend to forget a lot are our young adults and college age students. That's a real, from just the start of this journey that I've been on with therapy, those college stage young adults, they are in a tough space right now. And I don't see a lot of services out there for them. Anybody can take this question. What can we do to help them? Because they're still in school, they have the stressors of school, they have the stressors of family life probably, they're looking for jobs. How can we hone in on them and then take it to another level? Maybe college athletes who have an added stress, because then they're adding in what they're doing for the school. They're the money makers for the schools a lot of times, but their well-being is being overlooked. Anybody want to take that question?
I don't want to be the one to keep talking, but Lisa, what I have found is that our HBCUs are the ones that are lacking it the most. Our predominantly white colleges have counseling departments, have counselors there, and we're getting better. There are some that are coming along, teaching the students that you have options to go to the counseling resources if you need some help, not waiting till something happens on campus, not waiting till a shooting happens or something happens to bring professionals in, but trying to set the mode and having them already there and educating the students. Hey, if you're having trouble with your roommate, there's a place that you can go and talk to, not just the RA, but a counselor about it. If a boy is coming on to you, rape is really a thing in the colleges. Pushing drugs on people is a thing in colleges. If you're under a lot of stress and anxiety from your surroundings, make sure that they know that there is a counseling. There is supposed to be a counseling program, a counseling office for every school. Some don't work every day, so making that happen where they have that there would definitely help.
Great. Anybody else want to join in on that?
Yeah, I did want to respond to that as well. I think one of the key ways to help those who are in college is to support and train the administration, because as they say, fish rots from the head.
Ooh,
And
yes.
they are creating spaces that are not safe. And they're taking in the money, so they're not even concerned about creating safe spaces. And there's been a trend of co-ed dorms. They don't even have options if you don't want to live co-ed life, you know, and you want to be in an all male or all female dorm. These options need to be brought back, and it needs to be brought to their attention, because oftentimes when the students go to the counseling services, they're, you know, unfortunately, they're blocked from being able to really help them, or they toe the line and they want to protect the reputation of the university, of the institution, more so than protecting the student. And so, you know, I would hope that there would be a way to bring this information from the head, you know, and let it trickle down and make, you know, systemic changes in the way that we conduct business at HBCUs and other universities. You know, we have to change the way we conduct business to account for, now that they've legalized a certain drug paraphernalia and things like that. These things have to be taken into account on the college campus, and how it brings situations of domestic violence, sexual assault, you know, grooming, and all these types of things.
Right. Erica or Richara, do you want to join in on that?
I do. I just want to talk about the student athlete. I have nothing but student athletes in my home. Oh my goodness. And they deal with performance anxiety to the fullest. Okay.
Wow.
And so this trickles down to the thoughts that they have. If they're not doing well, you have these negative, intrusive thoughts that spill into almost everything, because if I'm not doing well in something that I love, I'm not doing well at all. And so I feel like, a lot like Kaleem said, administrators, people that are really supposed to be there for these students, need to be aware of what they are really encountering and enduring. They're struggling, and they struggle with balance, but they also struggle mainly with the thoughts, what they allow to come into their heads, and what stays there, and what perpetuates, you know, over and over again in their minds. And so we do need to be mindful of these young ones that want to be great. You know, I mean, sports, it really is a good outlet, but it can really go downhill quick for them if they're not doing as well as they believe they should be. And so that's another component, as far as maybe therapy needs to be offered to our student athletes, because they're dealing with some type of anxiety.
Yeah.
And if they're not doing well, it's totally impacting them. And it's kind of like pervasive. It's all over. It permeates throughout different areas of their life. And it's starting with just wanting to be perfect in something that you love, you know?
Yeah.
So it's super important for us to just be mindful of that with our children and with youth and students in general.
And not just on the college level, as you said, it can go down to the high school level, middle school, even some of the pressures on some of these kids in elementary school, when they are focusing singly on one sport and trying to achieve that level of greatness that they feel they need to go to the next level. They all need to be in therapy, because that's a lot of pressure to put on somebody who may not match up to what their expectation is. And then when you go from the high school level to the college level, that's a whole nother thing, because you could be great in high school, but when you get to college, you're just among the fish in the sea. And that's when they say the cream rises to the top. But what is that doing mentally to our kids? So the last thing that I wanted to talk about is, we're in the holiday season now. We know there are a lot of emotions that go on in these holiday seasons, no matter what you may observe or not observe. This is the time of the year where a lot of people, and the season change also, a lot of people may feel like their well-being is unbalanced, whether it's emotional, physical, financial, or spiritual. What are some of the tips that each of you can provide to people who are looking to keep their balance during this season?
Well, Lisa, I like to kind of step back a little bit, because if I don't get this out of my spirit, I'm gonna be stuck for the whole day.
Go ahead. Absolutely.
And so when you guys were talking about the employment and talking about college and, you know, departure and how you leave, I just feel, you know, and we all have different, you know, perspectives, that people don't leave jobs, people leave people.
Exactly.
And I think that's important to let settle, because the job is going to go on forever. And I think that, you know, if we have anyone on the line, or if this conversation, you know, continues, that corporate agencies, people should invest in other people that still have the same like-minded vision, and have the same like-minded goals of what that job is. I don't think I would be able to stay at an employer either if it's going to impact my mental health. And I think some of these strategies are very easy, which means learning more empathy, learning how to listen, learning how to be compassionate, And so if you take on those skills, the administrators, the leaders, and if they are provided more skills in that area, they would be able to benefit their employers a little bit better.
Yes.
And so I think, when we talk about what can we change or what can we fix, how about we stop having pizza parties, and, how about we bring in mental health counselors, and, how about we do some of those things? And when it's time for an evaluation and you ask me, why do I deserve a raise? Or why do you think I should pay you? Some of that should also be, why should I stay? Why should I invest in someone that does not have the capability to invest in me?
Yep.
And
Yeah.
some of that evaluation should also include your mental health, your experience on the job, and what can we do to make things better? Not make you happy, because you create your own happiness wherever you are.
Right.
But to make things manageable and comfortable on the job so you can perform your job duties. And also, I think looking at maybe sometimes reducing some of the tasks and things we do on the job, because we move so fast. We don't have the opportunity to really listen. We don't have the opportunity to really observe. And so I think taking a step back and slowing down in the workplace may reduce some of the stress and the triggers that the employees experience.
Yes. And from a human resource perspective, maybe that could be a goal of managers or leaders. What have you done for your employees as far as mental health during the year? People
Yes.
don't look at it some people may not look at it that way, but as leaders and organizations, we're responsible for the mental health of our employees, at least to the point of making sure they have the resources that is necessary. We can't make somebody do something. You can only lead a horse to water. You can't make it drink, as they say, but we can provide the resources, the recognition. And that starts with making sure we understand it as leaders ourselves. So, I'm glad you got that off your chest.
I feel
So, I know we're coming to time. That last question was out there. Maybe in closing remarks, we can address that, or anything else you want to say. And then again, we're going to be doing these webinars throughout 2024. We can touch on some of these topics again, and these are good topics to do now. I mean, I've taken some notes, some good webinar topics to do, and in-person events to do. So let me start with Richara, if you want to give some closing remarks, maybe about 1 to 2 minutes, then we'll go to Tiffany,
Well,
Kaleem.
Lisa, you actually have a question in the
I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you. So the question is, in addition to athlete, and this is from Tiana. Thank you, Tiana. In addition to athletes, there's a lot of pressure on students and adults, young and seasoned, from social media influence in living an unrealistic lifestyle. How is the mental health field addressing social media influence and impacts on mental health? Ooh, that's a good one. Because social media and impact. Thank you so much, Tiana. Anybody want to take that?
Anybody other than her mother, so somebody else.
Oh, well, I'm not a therapist or counselor. However, I would say that dealing with social media, people have to really keep in mind that no one is going to put, their life out there. Like when I was going through my issue, my life was a hot mess. I wasn't putting that on social media. And I was in an interview and someone said, oh, you just came through this and you just, you look so well. And I said, but I wasn't well, but I'm not putting that on social media. I'm not saying that I'm being not being genuine. It's just that some things, you have to heal yourself and then you come, and let people know this is what I went through. This is what you can do. If I can get through it, you can too. So I would say take social media with a grain of salt. Like people they're showing what they perceive to be their best life. And sometimes it could be their best life. And sometimes it's nowhere near what they're showing you.
I mean, you sit back and you like, no, that didn't happen because
it's a platform, and it's looking at the agent. When you're looking at social media, you're looking at the agent. You're not looking at that person's real life, which is okay because we have to understand it's entertainment mostly, and sometimes it's, a way of work, of earning a living and things of that nature. But, we just have to take it with a grain of salt. And once you start looking at what someone else has and start, wishing you had whatever it is, mental, physical, spiritual, wealth, beauty, then that's when you're going to be unhappy with your own life. You have to constantly reinforce it by saying, these are the blessings I have in my own life right now. Because that car, that house, it may be rented, it may be leased, it may not even be theirs. They're just standing out in front of some car they saw in the parking lot and took a picture, but don't look at what someone else has. I always say, these are the things that I woke up with this morning that make me special, make me great. And these are the blessings that I received today. Focus on that.
That's excellent. Anybody else want to respond to Tiana's question?
Yeah, so very quickly, I think, social media can be a curse and a blessing at the same time, because we can learn a lot from there. However, I think that also ties into, really focusing on what your beliefs and your values are, and going back to really think about that and process that. And if it aligns with what you're trying to do, who you're trying to be. And my mom used to have a saying, well, you eat the meat and spit out the bones. And so meaning when you're watching social media and you see some things that don't align with what you really believe or you really feel, maybe that's something that you should question. Is this good for me? If this is good for my spirit, is this good for my mental health? If I am in a depressed state, I try to listen and look at things that are upbeat. I try not to indulge in things that are negative or reality shows and things like that, because it taints my spirit. And so I have to go back internally what's the purpose? And just like the panelist was just speaking about social media, a lot of that is not even reality. They don't live that lifestyle, and sometimes when you see those types of things on TV, you have to question, what's the purpose? How is this going to impact me in a positive way in my life? And what is this message showing? And does it align with me? And so sometimes some things that look good on the outside, once you go and you open up the cover, you realize, maybe this is not a good read for me. And that's okay. And so I think really searching what you're reading, what you're looking at, and aligning it to the place in your life where you are and where you're going. And that can help you make some of the decisions on what you invest your time in, and also the surroundings that you're around.
Right.
So all of these are excellent, because this is addressing the question, but how do we do it mentally? In the mental health world, how do we get this out the same way to the athletes, the same way to the students, is that we have to put those professionals there to give just what we did, because we're talking to a small audience. But how do we get that to our students? How do we get that to the athletes? How do we get that to the young people with low self-esteem? And even my adults, like she said, seasoned. I have adults that come in here when I'm doing therapy and say the same thing. Well, my friends, my family, they're doing this, they're doing that. I feel like a failure. I don't have it what they have. And I'm saying the same thing. That, well, you're not there when they're arguing. You're not there when they haven't paid their bills. You're not. So you have to only be responsible for you, because the only person we can control is ourselves. We can only control our response to other people, but the only person we can control is ourselves. And again, that will start with the mindset, teaching people to have the positive mindset of what is benefiting you, because you are the most important person, not what everybody else has, not what everybody else is doing, but what is best for you.
Wow. And with that, just give little closing remarks, and then I'll share with others at the end some raffle giveaways that we have, courtesy of Benay's Creative Services. And then where do we go from here? Our next steps with Our Wellbeing LLC, upcoming events, bringing us to your workplace or to your school setting, telling others. We had a lot of people who registered who are not on. I'll make sure that they get the recording, but we want to get the word out. This is the group that's going to get the word out to start to make a difference. There are a lot of people out here doing things in the well-being realm. We all have our different niches and unique ways of doing them. But I think that we've come together here with a great group of strategic partners who will be able to help people in the way that they need to be able to be helped. So last remarks, Kaleema?
Yes, thank you again for the invitation. This is a dynamic group, and I'm just honored to be a part of this organization with these amazing ladies. In closing, for me, I would like to say to everyone to make sure that you get full healing. And when you experience an injury, just take the time to evaluate has this touched my life mentally, physically, spiritually, financially. If all four, make sure you seek healing in all four places so you can come out a stronger, better you and make, better choices, going forward.
Great. Tiffany?
Putting yourself first. You are the most important person. So if it's not benefiting you, if it's not going to enhance you, then you have to make the decision to either walk away, not accept it, and then find that thing, find those people, surround yourself with things that make you feel like you're the most important person.
Thank you. Richara?
I just want to say that the road to healing is not linear. It's not this straight path. A lot of things are happening while you're on the path, and you have to recognize, like, what is it that I want? What is it that I'm called to do? What makes me happy? When I show up, am I really gonna be my true, authentic self? I think as you're on this journey, understand that life will continue to happen. Okay, that's the new term, slogan, life is lifing. And it will. But the journey it's not a straight walk, it's gonna be some ups and downs. And you just know that you're going to be able to get through it, and everything that you encounter, you'll be able to use.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And Erica?
Yes, healing is long term, so when you go through a situation, we want the quick healing. We want the quick results, let's do it and get it over with. This might be a life journey for you, but it's a new life journey. You learn something different from every experience. Each experience that you go through is a learning process. And so what happens with that is when you go through life again and you come to that barrier, you have tools in your toolbox to reflect on, how did I manage that situation back in the day? I'm on the job again and it's the same thing occurring. Why am I going through this pattern? And it's okay to sit in your feelings. If you are sad that day, you're sad. Let's figure out why you're sad. You can't just rush it away. I'm sad. I just have to go and do something, to make myself happy. Well, let's sit in it. Let's figure out why we're sad. So these occurrences can be reduced. The other thing I wanted to share is that therapy is still a stigma, especially for our community and our culture. I'm researching and learning more about what help is out there for you and in your area. And it's so easy now. You can do it virtually, you can do it by phone, you can do it face to face. So there's so much help. And also learning the different expertise for therapists, because there is an athlete therapist, there are support groups for that, and a lot of people don't know that, so reaching out and finding out what is your need and where can you be supported with that, and so I think taking this step, to really say, okay, I need support in this area, which is the first thing, and moving forward with that. It may not come right in that moment, but still taking that step. It's a lifetime, a new learning life way to live, being well and being healthy. And so that takes a long time. It took a long time and a lot of trauma to get where you are now. It would take twice that much to heal from that. So be patient in your journey. And I am wishing peace, love, and light to everyone that's under my voice and sending high vibrations. And let this be the first day that you take that step to say, today I will be well.
Wow. I have to thank you ladies again. I thought the first one we did on November 7th was powerful. With this one, I think we just took it to a whole new level and going to enter into 2024 in a powerful way to help people with their positive well-being. And I just don't know. So with that, again, we have some upcoming events, Our Wellbeing, Saturday, December 9th, we're going to have our first in-person weekend wellness retreat here in Williamsburg, Virginia. We have the website for Eventbrite registration open. For those of you who are viewing us, and to all who are registered, I will send that out, but you can search that on eventbrite.com now and go out there and register. We'd love to have you in the area, even if you live somewhere else. January 15th, we're going to be doing another webinar. Topic this time is going to be incarceration and well-being healing. We have a dynamic guest that we're planning on having. Online registration for that will be open soon. Our big conference, which we had to move from early November to January, our Wellness at Work conference will be in Richmond, Virginia at the Doubletree Richmond Airport Hotel on Friday, January 26th. Put that on your calendar. We will also have available sleeping accommodations if you're coming from out of town. We'll have that. Registrations will be up on our website shortly. And then in March, we're going to have another topic. And right now, that topic is student stress and well-being healing. Addressing more in depth the stressors of students, especially around that midterm time for the spring semester. And hopefully we'll be able to do our an in-person wellness retreat for students at that time, college-age students, high school students, to be able to address them because they have special needs, and we want to be able to have a safe space for them to come and address their needs. And if there's any other topic out here that you'd like for us to address, feel free to email it to Our Wellbeing. We can try and put that on the calendar. What's not listed here is May is Mental Health Awareness Month. We have some special things that we're planning in webinar wise with men's mental health, Black men's mental health, mental health for Black women, a couple of other topics that we're going to do in May. And then in June, we're looking at mental health and well-being for our LGBTQ community. So there's a lot of things that we plan on doing and addressing. Can't do it all, but we can start somewhere. And with that, I'd like to now turn it over to Tiffany James from Benay's Creative Services, who is one of our sponsors. And we'd like to thank you, Tiffany, for that. And just tell the group and everybody who's viewing what our raffle prizes are going to be. And what we're going to do is the first person who logged in today is going to get the prize. And if the last person who logged in is going to get the prize. Sorry, we can't give something to everybody, but we hope what we shared today was a gift for you. So Tiffany?
So I believe it was Shanta Person for the first in the Richmond area to join. And then I saw Stacy Kane at the end. And what you have one is the Illumination Light show, the drive-through in by King's Dominion up in that area. So I will be getting you your tickets for that.
Oh, I was on mute. Thank you so much, Tiffany. We appreciate that. And thank you again for being a sponsor for our first webinar and also for this one as well. Also for our January event, we will be having sponsors for that. So if you're interested in not only attending, but maybe your business wants to be a sponsor, have a table, we'll have Kaleem back as our keynote speaker. We'll have the other ladies on the panel, the beautiful ladies on the panel. They'll be doing individual presentations, and Erica will also have her sound healing room on site. We'll do that also at our wellness retreat. But for more information on Our Wellbeing, again, you can go to our website at www.ourwellbeing.net, reach out to us by phone, or you can email us at ourwellbeingva@gmail.com or hello@ourwellbeing.net. And with that, I'd just like to thank again everybody for joining today. My name is Lisa Sheppard. I'm the founder and CEO of Our Wellbeing LLC, and we look forward to having you at our next event. Take care, peace and blessings, and have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Blessings.